Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy? Darling? Light of my life.
What is your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course. I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
So tell me more about your broken bones. Is that the podcast we're having?
Yeah, no, that's going to be for the ramble later. Today we're going to talk about my broken brain.
Oh, yeah, broken brains.
From this cerebral film, dude, that I just got humbled with.
So cerebral.
I mean, really.
This is called, I'm doing it. This is called Cinema Knowledge Podcast. Levi, that's Jordan. Levi and Jordan, that's us.
Hey, bud.
So your brain's pretty broken, huh? They can't put screws in that, can they?
No, they definitely cannot. They could try, though. I can't. What's the name? I wanted to, like, come in tight and just, like, totally fresh and pressed. But, like I said, the liquid that drips out of my ears doesn't allow it.
Yeah.
What's the name of the ministry that administers, like, the torture? I'm, like, so mad. I wanted to remember I only remember Sam Laurie's.
Yeah.
He's just like, he's in the Ministry of Information, and then he wants to go to, like, Ministry of Records or whatever. Right?
Yeah, no, he's in Records, and then he transfers to, I think it's Ministry of Information Retrieval is what it is.
Oh, I thought he started there. See, I don't even know.
That's where he goes. He starts in Records, but he doesn't want to leave because he doesn't want all that.
Oh,
he should have
that's
just
right.
stayed there. He should have just stayed there as his teacher's pet for his boss. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're watching some cerebral movies, as Jordan mentioned.
People don't even know what we're doing, dude.
We're talking. So this movie, it scrambled us, but possibly in a different way than our last movie, Mulholland Drive. This movie we're talking about is 1985 Terry Gilliam's movie Brazil, dystopian satire nightmare. Did you write a synopsis? You said you did, right?
I did, yeah. It's
You just
like
try and explain it just with just off the top of your head.
I know, right? Well, no, it almost might work better because it's like trying to cram it all in. I mean, I'm gonna just do it. It's broad strokes, and then we kind of like delve into like some details and some characters that we enjoyed because there's quite a few. I enjoyed this little bunch, and you know, every character is interesting and comes from the beautiful mind of Mr. Gallium. But let's get this going. So
tell me, for those no one who's never fucking seen this.
Yeah. So if you've never seen this movie, I'm gonna read you my synopsis, and then I implore you to go watch the movie, and you'll probably get a kick out of it. All right, it's 8:49 p.m. A clerical error changing the letter T into a B sets in motion a new life for Sam Laurie, a meek employee for the Ministry of Records who daydreams more than his mother's political standing would care for. He meets Tuttle, a freelance electrician / freedom fighter that fixes government property outside of the world of paperwork, giving Sam the confidence to take on the task of righting this wrong, sending him on a quest into the grueling and chaotically efficient monotony of bureaucracy, leading him to a chance encounter with a mysterious young woman, the same woman from his fantasies. Stumbling his way to a partnership, they flee from their oppressors, but the many eyes of the government quickly find them. As he tries to balance his existence among two worlds, a real world of oppression run by the bureaucratic and totalitarian government, and a fantasy world of dreams where he flies across the land fighting to save a damsel in distress against the allegorical totalitarian government. These two worlds merge into one as Sam's fate is sealed and signed for by an old friend whose loyalty is that of duty, leaving Sam a ghost in the shell somewhere in the 20th century. That's it.
Nice. No, that was pretty good.
That sums it all up.
Yeah, it really does. Like most of these movies, we say the plot, but the plot is almost pretty inconsequential to what is happening with like the storytelling and the themes, and it's like with Mulholland Drive before this and now this, it's like there's the plot, but it's not like that crucial. You know what I mean? Like I guess it is. There's the conspiracy and everything like that.
I was gonna say it's the subtleties that really make it. It's like
Yeah.
the plot's very simple, and I guess that's kind
there's
of
just
how,
so many moving pieces, but it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, there is no mistakes, but it's like, no, there's literally a bug in the machine, like a bug falls in to the fucking type the printer and makes it buttle, you know, resulting in the torture. God, that's one thing I don't remember about this movie. So I saw this movie. This is the only second time I've seen it, and you know, I saw this movie back in that era that I've watched all movies, like 15 years ago.
It seems like I was gonna say it seems like there was which surprisingly enough, I have a very similar story where at one period in time I read like four popular novels and watched like a group of really like popular movies, and I watched like 1984 and Brazil, and then I watched 12 Monkeys, and I knew like Terry Gilliam was like because I was really into like the Matrix and stuff and like that, like Blade Runner, and so I was like, oh, why haven't I ever like taken on, you know, Brazil? And so taking on Terry Gilliam's films, it gives you like a different kind of dystopian, and he actually, because he comes from a comedy background, it's like it's satire and like
We'll have to find a way to watch 12 Monkeys,
yeah.
I think, for the podcast one of these days, because I think 12 Monkeys is probably still my favorite, because it's like, it's just right in the perfect blend because like his movies now, I mean, I haven't seen The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, his last movie, but like his last couple movies, like Zero Theorem or whatever it is with Christoph Waltz and like Tideland and stuff.
I didn't see Tideland. And the last one I've seen is the Dr. Panassums or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The Wonder Emporium.
I guess that's still pretty fun, but it's just like back in the day, obviously his movies were like wacky, insane. Like we watched Time Bandits last year, and I really, and I'd never seen it before that, and Time Bandits was a lot of fun. And then obviously his most famed is Monty. Do you remember Time Bandits? Oh wait, just kidding. No, we didn't.
Like, we didn't watch Time Bandits for the pod.
No,
Dude.
you're right.
You're like, okay, bud, don't do that to me. I'm like,
I was living in another dimension. I watched Time Bandits on my own during Time Travel Movie Month, because I was themed on with my movie watching.
Something I've learned with this on this watch is that this is part of a trilogy. So I need to go back and watch Time Bandits, and then I need to watch his other film, which, wait for it.
Wait, this is part of a trilogy?
Yes, it's called his Imagination Trilogy. And so this film, along with his
Baron Munchausen?
Yes.
So it is?
The Time Bandits, Brazil, The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Yeah.
Those are all... They're like a... It's not a true, genuine trilogy.
Yeah, it's like a thematic, it's like the revenge trilogy.
Right, exactly.
Chan-wook
It's the
or whatever.
universe he creates. Yeah, so Time Bandits is children, Brazil is like your midlife, and then Adventures of Baron Munchausen are like elderly and like kind of your twilight years.
Yeah, I've never seen I've only seen like a part of Munchausen, like one scene or something.
No, I haven't seen. I mean, really, the only other movies I've seen by him are like 12 Monkeys and Fear and Loathing.
Yeah.
And then Doctor, the Imaginarium.
Oh, and like Monty Python, but I guess he directed that? He did, right?
He did. I mean, he co-directed Monty Python.
Because back then it was like the whole group.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of fun. I like so like Monty Python. They're a huge crew, and they actually have a lot of like history written down. So it's pretty cool to go through and listen to like, I mean, Terry Gilliam's like interviews. He has tons on. He's very vocal, which is kind of cool. That's why one thing I like about him is like he definitely he loves his commentaries on DVDs, and he loves doing like press conferences, and he loves interviews. so, listening to his experiences is really, really neat. And like, I love his juxtaposition of like history and how we haven't grown out of it. Like he said in an interview, this isn't a futuristic movie. This movie is set in the 20th century. It's set now.
Yeah, I really like that. It's just
I
like
love that.
sometime in the 20th century, but it's obviously like,
Yeah.
I don't know, some like the world. This movie's got so much world building, but
and it's done. It's like ambiguous, so it gives you that. It's like everyone's set in like the 30s, so it's almost like imagine if all of the clerical work you did in the 30s and 40s. It's like there was no technology that caught up, but the technology that was there is just kind of different. It's like mainly for surveillance, and it's mainly for like it's small little steps. Like barely robots were barely working.
All the computers, it's like almost the dystopians almost got like a steampunk vibe in a way, because everything's like ducts and pipes and like all this, like everyone's shoved in these like huge like skyscrapers, these just like boxed in, but like all the computers are just like the tiny little tube TVs with the giant magnifying glass on them, all popped up, but it's still like like an 80s style computer interface, but with like these crazy machines.
But it's all, and it's like it's a typewriter. It's like an electric typewriter that's been like stripped, and then they got those little TVs and mounted them, and it's like that is, and that's something Terry Gilliam is a master. He focuses on his like detail and his world building so much that it's almost like the story doesn't need to be great, and so the fact that Brazil actually has like a really like coherent and fun adventure that's bleak, just like the second it becomes bleak, somebody gets like full of shit and explodes, like their suit gets backs the lines and fills them with shit.
That's the thing too with this movie. It's definitely like it walks it walks the line between like bleak and comedy, but like 1 foot in like depressing, horrific bleak town, and then 1 foot in slapstick, and it's like every step it takes, it like you're like, holy shit, that's dark, and then it gets super silly, and you're like, that's wacky, and then again, and you're like, oh, but that's fucking dark implications.
Right, and it works with like Terry Gilliam's style is that every time he would cut, so what he really originally wanted to do, which I'm actually happy that it got re-edited, because this movie, if you know a little bit of the history.
Like a little bit. I know that like the ending was like supposedly too dark.
Yeah, there's called no. Like we watched
originally.
We watched the original.
Yeah, we watched the right one, but then they had the cut
right
where it ends on the happy ending, so there's not like the last. Essentially, they just cut out the very end, right?
Right, basically, yeah.
That was
that
was the first version I saw.
Oh, see, really? I've never seen that version. I've only ever seen the sad bleak one, so I didn't learn that until researching it for this podcast. I didn't know there's a version called The Love Conquers All, and it's that like there's a producer that like really fought him on making it, and like Terry Gilliam had to do, he had to push a lot, and it's like he's cool. He like his creative integrity is really strong.
I watched it by accident, I think, because it's like I rented it from the library. Is how I watched it, and I think there was like 2 discs. And this was like, this wasn't before the age of internet, but I didn't have internet in my house. Yeah. And so it's not like I could just hop on my phone and look it up. So I just put in one of the discs and I watched that. And then it wasn't until later, because I got all my internet from school or the library, that I had read about like that wasn't the real version essentially. But I still had the disc, and so I didn't watch the whole thing, but I like went back with the other disc and watched like the real ending and stuff, and I'm like, oh, well, that's much better. Like that makes much more sense for the movie. And so I had forgotten about that until watching it just now, that there was the other version that essentially they just cut off the ending. And then so watching it, I was like, oh, okay, this is the real version, good, because that's how I remember it. But I couldn't remember if like the bleak ending was like the director's cut and not the real one, so I didn't know which one I was watching. And this time, the other day, until I got through the end, and then I'm like, oh, okay, this is like this is the Criterion one, you know what I mean? Was the one that we watched that had the right ending and everything.
Yeah. I wonder if they have a special feature that like shows you, because I would be curious to see like the real or the theatrical, because it's like the U.S. theatrical.
Yeah, I could be
ending was
100%
gonna have
wrong,
that.
but it was kind of like what they did with Blade Runner. Like it's just the happy ending. Like it just ends with them.
Okay.
So essentially,
With them
for everyone
running
doesn't know,
away, yeah.
like the whole he gets caught up with her. He gets taken back to the facility, and he's about to get tortured by his old buddy. For fucking God really knows why, other than he's like in this government. You know, that's the whole thing. It's just part of it.
It's because he didn't do the clerical work, dude. He didn't
Yeah.
get the right paperwork. It's like I love it. Yeah, it's
Literally.
So great,
but then like, you know, Tuttle swoops in and saves the day, and they have this weird surreal escape, and that's how you kind of know it's not real. But it ends with them like driving out into the country and having like a cute little farm, and then that's how the movie is here. But then all of a sudden, it's like you find out that his brain's just broken because he's been tortured.
right. Yeah, he's just been lobotomized.
And it just
and
ends
now
with him singing that song Brazil. I guess
Yeah.
if that's what it's called, right?
Well, that's what's interesting. I'm like, I think this title stands out so well, but it's also like it's just kind of nonsense, which kind of works for the movie itself too. It's
Right,
it's great.
yeah,
It's just like- but yeah,
Watching it this time, I was wondering if there was like another meaning, but it's just like it's the song that shows
Just
up.
the
It's like
songs.
it's integrated into the score at some
That's
of
what
the
I love,
points too,
yeah.
which is really great.
yeah.
But it's more like it encompasses his idea of daydreaming, and the song's like about getting away and having a nice vacation and being like carefree. And it's like that's not the life he has, but that's the life he dreams of, and so it really does tie well into the themes. And then it ends like super depressing on that.
Yeah,
such a happy song, and he's just like
he's humming it. Yeah,
And we just gotta say that set, like this movie has the greatest sets, but the like abandoned missile silo they shot it in or wherever the fuck.
well, yeah,
It's-
it's just
it's-
an old like
It's so
power
cool.
plant
Yeah,
silo.
it's
but
just
yeah, same thing,
massive.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's just
so
like
cool,
the
and it's so
ultra
cool that it's
wide-
like real.
Yeah,
Dude, it's real. Like it looks so. Okay, real quick, I just wanted to say about the editing style and like with the dream sequence through this movie, where we're introduced to our main character in a dream, which is really awesome. It's another great character introduction. He shows up and he's like flying through, and it sets like the whole movie up in like 30 seconds for like who he is, and then it's just like it shows him waking up and he's just kind of this like almost deadbeat essentially, that kind of like, yeah, like you said,
just
teacher's pet. He's
definition of just like mediocre
He's-
middle class. He's just
Yeah.
fucking vanilla ice cream, the most boring man. He literally,
But,
he's wet toast, which is that toast he tries
Yeah.
to eat is just soggy wet toast. He's wet toast, dude.
really, yeah,
Sam
really,
Laurie's
though,
wet
yeah.
toast, bro.
But he originally Terry Gilliam was going to have that dream sequence just be the beginning. It was going to be like 9 minutes of dream sequence and then delve into the movie.
That would have been
And
interesting,
I'm
but-
so happy that they changed that.
No, yeah,
because
it-
it breaking up throughout gives it such a good. It's like you get this seriousness, and then when it goes to the fantasy, and that's what just fucking solidifies the ending. It's
Yeah.
like you're in a dream because it goes to this crazy like not practical set, and it's like he's fighting like a giant samurai, and he's like it's all the like all the stuff that's like it's like the symbolism that he's fighting, and like symbolism he's chasing, and like who he is and how he wants more out of his life, but he wants to be like a hero, but he's even as a hero he's kind of like passive and meek. So anyways, it's just like the ending.
He
when it's
romanticizes
happening-
like what it means to be a hero without
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
knowing what that actually entails.
Right. And I love how tragic that ending is, because it shows him getting rescued and then him fighting to be free, and it's like they're going off into the sunset, and then it's almost like he never really like applied himself, I guess, if you will. Like he truly wasn't a revolutionary, and so he
Right.
kind of just ended up getting like devoured into the system that he was so happy to be a part of. And it's like
I think it's really us kind of as an audience too. It really goes based on like audience expectations of like he's the main character and he has all these dreams of being heroic, and he gets caught up in this like kind of accidental and somewhat mild conspiracy. It's very much like a Burn After Reading, where it's like they don't really know what all the moving pieces are exactly, but it's just like that's just the way things are done, so they have to do things that way, and so like as the audience we expect, oh, he's not gonna get tortured, and then so that last it very much was in kind of reminded me of Mulholland Drive, where it was like this like fantasy subversion of like what we're expecting as the audience, because then third act Tuttle swoops in, saves the day. It's like this massive shootout. They have this huge crazy escape and all this crazy shit. But at the end of the day, you're like, no, it's like he gets swallowed up by the system, dude. Like it's not one villain either, too. It's just the system.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. And he, at the end of the day, he's just a normal dude, and he can't possibly take down this whole system. Like it's almost looking at you like, what? Did you think that this regular guy was gonna fucking bring down the whole thing? Like, no, he just fucking gets caught up in it. He's a little blip, and then he gets swallowed up into a footnote, and now his credit rate's ruined, and he's dead. Like,
yeah, right. Well, and that's what I love too is like he's not dead, so they're probably gonna repurpose him as like a human battery or something. One of those.
Yeah, or something, or just have him work at a factory, work his way back up.
What's really cool about this movie? They don't show you like the Godhead. They don't take it all the way to the top. And I think even in his fantasy when he breaks out, it's like it's just kind of cool. You see the class system and everybody like fits in their piece, and there's like lower end, and like I love probably my favorite character in this is the two guys. It's like the workers. I really like the red jacket, the maintenance
guys,
red jumpsuit, the maintenance guys. But see, I like those maintenance guys. Like they're the evil maintenance guys.
Bob Hoskins, dude.
And I know Bob. Yeah,
random Bob Hoskins
dope.
showing
I
up.
keep this. Yeah. Well, Bob Hoskins, and I knew Robert De Niro was in this clearly. Yeah. Forgot Bob Hoskins, and so when I saw him, I was like, oh
shit,
yeah, dude.
Random, Bob Hoskins in the wild, man.
Yeah, right?
Young
and then
Bob Hoskins too.
Like Robert De Niro. It's like I knew he was in this and I was waiting for him, and I love his character. He is the best character in this
100%.
That's because he's like the American machoism like hero. So it's I love it.
He fucking cracks my shit up in this, dude.
Dude, he's such a good actor.
People
man.
forget how funny Robert De Niro can be, dude. But in this, because he's just like such a buddy, and the way it's edited, because every single time he's so jumpy and paranoid. Every time he hears a noise, he's like, he pulls out his gun and is like.
Well, and I love how he's like Batman, dude. He just like fucking blasts in and just shows up with his grappling hook and just bails out.
He just turns around. Sam Laurie turns around, and it's like he's on the edge of a ledge already, and he just gives him like a. And then it just cuts to a miniature of like an action figure, like down into the building.
And that's so effective. I love it.
Dude, it's so good.
But no, those two workers are fun. I like them because like they're evil and they do what they do for the government, and they love that. They're just like totally like compliant. And then I like the other two maintenance workers that have to put in the hole. Like that is the funniest when they. So when the police show up and they carve the hole out, and that's like their SWAT tactics is like busting in by like carving a hole. So they come from all angles, and so it's like when they drop down, and then the
two guys like
dude, and those two guys, they have a very short. They're not like reoccurring. They have a very short bit, but that bit is all encompassing of like the whole world. When he's just like they roll it in and they're like, "No, ma'am, sorry, we don't make mistakes," and then drops it. It's like metric and it goes right through. And that part just cracks me up every time. Like I knew it was coming. I was just waiting for it, and like, oh my god, I love it. I think of that scene often. Yeah. I love those guys because there's like we don't make mistakes. It falls right through.
That's the thing that's so sad. It's like I don't think there is a figurehead at the top of all this. Not really.
Well, right.
It's just. It really is like, quote unquote, the system. It's just like, I don't know. It's like everyone, like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, but it's this perfect circulation where it's just like, this is just the way things work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because the only time it like people get disrupted is, and that's what I liked with Sam Laurie, is he's walking through and he basically is like, he's almost like a fish out of water where he's going to different departments. So he's new to this department. He's discovering the department just like we are. And like I love when he's in his new office and the pipes just or those like tubes that shoot the little notes down, whatever the hell those are. And it's like he keeps getting those and it's like they just won't stop. And that's just like that's everything in this, like every single scene has like subtext to the greater story.
No,
and I love it.
It really does. Like, well, to not only to the world building, but like just to the satire and themes is trying to say of like corporate life and bureaucracy is kind of like a soul killing thing. Like he he's got his job, which he's comfortable with. He doesn't technically have an office, but he's, kind of stands out amongst the crowd. He's a fairly big fish in a fairly big fish in the pond that he's in a way that his boss relies on him and everything. But he doesn't want to get promoted, but he only does because he's a stalker and he wants to stalk that woman.
Yeah.
So when he
does everything for personal gain.
Yeah, they're like, oh, here is your office. You finally have your office. You have your own number. Welcome to the big leagues. They give him his office, and it's literally like 3 feet across. It's like a prison cell. And then, like, he sits down at the desk, and the desk starts moving. And I totally forgot about that. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Oh, my God.
And it's it's one shared desk between the wall and the guy in the next office, and they're, like, trying to fight for the territory of the desk. And it's so good. That's a good bit. I like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like when that's like, hey, you're moving on up in the world, Sonny, and his boss won't spare him 2 seconds because he's got like a million other guys hanging on his every word. And they're like, yep, you're moving up in the world to this fucking prison cell and this shapeless gray building. And all the cops look like fucking crazy riot gear guys or Nazis.
Right, the Nazism, like that's Terry Gilliam.
It's very like this authoritarian thing too. It's like a hierarchy, everything's. That's why it's like you got to assume there's someone at the top. But there's not one big nefarious thing. It's just like, no, he's the president of the company. Who knows? Like,
yeah, right.
And
Terry Gilliam really likes he was joking in an interview and he said he's like well, I really like the Nazi aesthetic's great, and then he's like, and terrorists. I just think terrorists are neat.
Yeah, I really like that opening.
Well, yeah. That opening's so like Children of Men style.
Yeah, a lot of movies do that opening, and I think they're all super cool. Where it starts on the TV and there's the terrorist attack. It's very Children of Men or like Watchmen even, where it starts with that, and it's like it's got the shop and.
Well, dude, and that and ducks, like that's so great. Just like that, like. Are your ducks too old fashioned? Like, come get new ducks. Like,
dude, everything's so ducks. There really is.
Yeah,
we're saying ducks like air ducks, not ducks like quack quack.
Not
But
watch the movie and then you'll know. There's ducks galore.
There's a lot of ducks. But
on for the all the bombings. They're shot really well and they're used for such. It's like. It's almost he uses too much comedy to rely on, like, or God, sorry, he like bombing during dinner and them just continuing to eat like nothing's happening is
and he literally is like
synonymous with how we operate, how we see people, like we see destruction happening, and then we're eating, we're eating our TV dinner.
There's a terrorist attack in the restaurant he's in, and that happens twice. And the first time it happens, people are literally dying. There's like old women bleeding everywhere. And his mom's like, you're in the government. Why don't you do something? And he's like, I'm off the clock.
I'm on my lunch break. It's like, and everyone just continues. Like everyone eating is upset because like their dinner got interrupted. And it's like this like larger event. And it kind of, I don't know. It really lends to like kind of the helplessness. Like it's like that. When he says like I'm on my lunch break, it's also kind of like, well, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna stop like random bombings? And so when he actually gets a chance to do that later, and he's with like the Jill,
whatever.
Yeah, he like sees the bomb and then it goes off and he kind of feels bad because he's like, oh, I could have, I should have known it was a bomb. I should have seen it.
He thinks he could have done something, and then it's just not even that. It's just this
right.
Random things of violence coming from everywhere, and it's like in his mind they're all connected, but it's like he's such an unreliable narrator too, in a way that it's just like it's hard to tell how much of this movie is just like his perspective, because it's like Jill, how she falls for him, and then it's like he is connecting dots between Tuttle and these terrorists that may not actually be there. Because it's like, Tuttle has never shown anything to be a terrorist other than he's a jumpy fucking repairman. But like, if Batman wasn't the world's greatest detective, he was a poor fucking plumber. That's what he is. But it's like, in his mind, they're connected, and that shows by later when he fantasizes about getting rescued by the, you know, the resistance, the freedom fighters, you know what I mean, all that.
Well, I think I was theorizing that like all of everything that we've seen was a dream. I mean, it opens on a dream sequence.
It's hard to say how much.
I imagine he was just sitting in the chair the whole time.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. It's
like
so the movie ends with, like, nothing you saw is reliable. Like, some things are maybe more reliable than others, but nothing you saw, like, we've already shown that that part of this movie is, like, a large part of this movie is fantasy, and that's why it connects with Mulholland Drive in a lot of ways, where it's like what you're seeing is someone's fantasy. In this case, it's his, you know, either his daydreaming or his escape from torture, or both. Like, they could be very caught up into one thing, you know what I mean? And so it really is hard to say what is objective truth, and I think that's what makes this a quote-unquote cerebral movie, is because it's like you really gotta think that over about what is real. There's the questions about that, and does it matter? And probably not, because it's like
right.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, that's what we say. It's like you kind of, each person gets their own thing out of it and can decide what they think is real and what's not, and if that's even worth pointing out. You know what I mean? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. And this one, I don't think it's like, you know, I don't know. I don't think it really, I think it ebbs and it flows. It's hard to say, because it's like, I think a lot of stuff is heightened reality and exaggeration based on the movies told from his perspective. And so much of it could be just in his mind after being tortured. Who knows? Maybe he is a terrorist. I don't know.
Right, yeah. That's the thing. He could have been an operative that got captured, and he's just thinking about what if he had a more simple life. You know, he could have lived an outlandish life, and he could have worked with Robert De Niro, you know, that character, and like he could have been part of the freedom fighters. Or he probably just was, you know, a simple, like, middle-aged. I mean, middle-aged is a little harsh. He's supposed to be a little younger than that, but still, it's just like he's just a daydreamer.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do something bigger, and he, like, you know, he's trapped in that society. And I think it's fascinating that Jill, that character, like Kim Grease, the actress, she plays the mom in like the young version, and it's like that kind of is where
I really loved that part too.
And what if he's I love that fantasy. It's like it's so cool. It's like the whole thing feels like fantasy, and then when there's like a dream sequence in a dream sequence, or like a like
it's like that's where it's where reality's the thinnest. Really, you know what I mean? It's the most abstract. It's like it's like the subconscious almost, you know.
And I love how they've been building that. God, dude, this is when a movie is written really well. Is the beginning of it? She gets a treatment done, and it's an acid treatment, and the doctor's like, "Oh, there's this, you know, it's a small side effect. It's nothing big. I'll have my bandages off in no time." Like, it's like it's acid instead of slicing, and so it's like she's like, "Oh, it's acid. It's like it's revolutionary." And then they're talking about how it's like, no, it's gonna like melt your bones and turn you into goo.
Yeah, literally.
And then when she's in the coffin and it like tips up and it's just like fucking Jello body squishes down.
Yeah, I know, it's horrific too.
Yeah. Oh god, and dude, yeah, it's so. It is. It's like this movie gets really dark, and like even with like with Buttle's wife and everything, like that, just her like screaming and the kids torment. It's like, man, Terry Gilliam could just do that. He can freaking flip it on a dime.
That's the one thing I think about this movie that gets under my skin and a lot of other people's skin. It's like I had forgotten, because it's a fairly whimsical movie. I mean, the way it's shot, like it touches obviously a lot of dark dystopian themes, like the whole highway, everything's blasted and the whole highway is just billboards. Which is also great. But it's like I forgot how much torture there was in this. Like, not like you don't see it, but there's torture at the frames of everything. Like, and that's how they get everyone to like admit to their crimes, like everything. It's like fucking medieval, basically.
That is true. It's kind of cool where like,
but it's
tight.
Like,
there
it's
is
tied
no
into
judicial
your,
system.
No, and it's tied into your like. They charge you for it. They charge you for your torture,
right?
And it's like you go into debt as well. So it's like it doesn't end with your physical torture. It's like your financial torture, but it's just like this innocent guy.
We basically are. We're there right now, though. That's what's so wild of it. Yeah, it just doesn't.
I know. In this movie, he's almost 40 years old.
Damn. Yeah.
Which is insane. That it's as relevant as it ever was, practically. It's pretty wild. I don't know. Like, maybe skipping ahead. I don't know what my favorite scene is necessarily, but the scene that kind of actually made me be like, "Ooh, that's icky." Is he walks into that office and there's that woman, the like stenographer, that's like she's transcribing the tapes, and he looks over and is like reading it, and it's just screams. It's just screams like, "Oh God, no, stop! I'm sorry. I'll tell you whatever."
I'm like,
and she's like,
I love how you don't know what that is.
Yeah, and it's just like horrific. Like, she's just everything. Paperwork has paperwork. Like the guy says at the beginning, "Here's your receipt for your husband. Here's my receipt for your receipt." Like,
yeah,
it's like everything's got the paperwork, including transcribing the torture tapes.
It is. It's like we've tried to like do due diligence everything, and so much to where it's like, she's taking it down, and it's wild how like she's just is so like second nature. She's just typing out that report.
She's totally separated from it. Even Jack, his old friend, who is now just a torturer, is like, "No, I'm just doing my job." And he's like, "No, you tortured the wrong man." He's like, "No, I tortured the right man when they brought him to me." I had to trust that it was the right man at the time in good faith, or the system collapses.
Well, I love it.
You know?
I love it. Yeah. Well, basically, it's like he tortured the paperwork. Like what came to him on the files was the right.
It's as mundane as him for just filling out his regular paperwork. Like,
he's a barber for.
And that's what's fucked up, is because he's not necessarily like a psychopath or anything like that. And that's what makes him scarier. Right. He's not like this crazy, like, "Oh yeah, I torture people." He's just like a regular dude, and that's just his job. He's like a fairly.
He's not trying to like.
He's what people want to be because he's successful. Like, and the guy, he's like the equivalent of like a doctor or something. It's like he's higher clearance, and like, "Oh yeah, I'm going. How are the kids? Oh, I got 3 triplets. I got the triplets." Like, he's just a regular everyday family man, but his day job is just torturing people, and it's just like so mundane. I think that's the kind of the horror of this movie, is like, it's like humans have found a way to take like the horrors of humanity and make them so part of our everyday lives, and like just like make them so filtered that we're separated from them that we don't notice. That we continue eating our meals during a terrorist act. You know what I mean? It's like we see fucking war and violence and murder and mass shootings on the TV, and it's just like, whatever.
I gotta go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, basically.
It's just how it is.
But I do like the escapism we get in this within the characters, like them flipping. That's a funny bit too at the beginning, when like the manager keeps opening the door and everybody's working busy paperwork, and then they're all like stop dead watching that old like Western film.
Yeah, that's like their escape. Like, that's the equivalent. Like, oh, they're on their phones or something.
Right, exactly. No, it's 100% somebody just like doing like a command key on their computer so that they can switch over to their like their spreadsheet
YouTube videos
when they're
watching
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that was something too. It's like there's like beautiful posters throughout this whole movie, but then
I love the posters.
That
I want one. I want loose talk as new stock. That's the one I want.
Dude, loose talk as new stock. That's what I wrote down on my notes. I was like, that is the best. That's such a good. And even like the lips have a lock on them. It's like, it's a really solid poster. But then I love like, you don't even need like explanation, but Sam's like room has some movie posters on it, and which that was, I think there's one, God, I can't remember what it was. I think it just says like cinema or something on it.
Yeah,
It's got
I
like
feel like I saw something like
a
that.
glamour shot,
Yeah.
you know, in his room. And then later when he's at work and his cubicle mate was like, oh yeah, it's, you know, later tonight we're watching Casablanca. And like, it's just so cool how it's like, that's his, you know, that's their escape. And so it's like, you know, his friend likes the movies. And then it's cool how everybody in the office is watching that Western. So it's like, you assume everyone in the office is going to watch Casablanca. And it's like, I love film so much. And like, Terry Gilliam
I wish
definitely loves film
everyone
because
watched the same movies. I guess that's why we started a
I
film
know.
club. Is so we're
Right.
like, everyone's watching Brazil this week. Let's talk about Brazil.
Yeah, I can get, well, yeah, I talked to like Travis about it and some coworkers. It's like, it's
I
great.
always try and bring
I
it
do
up
love it and I
about
relate
Brazil.
with
You
that.
guys have heard of Brazil?
Yeah.
The country?
Well, and then I love later in like the next scene when he's talking with the manager, and then he says like, "Here's looking at you, kid." Like they use like they use the line from it, so it's cool how that like that's basically like how we use memes nowadays. And
Right,
shit.
it's true.
You know, even no, like it branches like Facebook is like branched like, you know,
Right.
like everybody. It's like it's covered no matter what age or what position you have. You can
That is
relate with
weird
something.
that like Casablanca's in it and stuff, because it's like this movie is so displaced out of time. Like you don't know if this is one nation or if it's the world. And like you said, it's sometime in the 20th century. It has like some futuristic stuff, like, you know, there's obviously mechanized things, like very advanced buildings and architecture, but yet it's like everything has a very noir vibe as well. And they're watching real movies like Casablanca, which I think is kind of interesting. I wonder if there's more of that. Like, I kind of want to go back and look at some of like the advertisements and see if there's like more real
right. See-
stuff, because that's the only thing I can think of that's like from our reality. Because if not, this movie seems like very detached. Like, this is what could be. This is like our. It's not.
It's an alternate.
Yeah, it's not like even.
universe
It's
for
not like
sure.
a warning necessarily. It's just like a heightened version of like. This is like through the lens of what it could be. The human civilization is seen from an outside perspective, almost. You know what I mean?
Well, right, I think it is. It's just, it's like, it's Terry Gilliam. Every movie he makes, he's like, I'm making a contemporary piece that's just my set dressing. It has my flair. He's like, why not tell a story that is like, it doesn't have to be like super propaganda, but it's also kind of like, this is the state of things. Like, this isn't like, nowhere does he say that it is the future.
No, not at all.
You know,
he
it's
specifically
like,
says
that's
it's
what's
not the
so
future.
great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I think that's
it's
an
like, I wonder if there's
important note. This is not like, watch out, or this is who we'll become. It's like, no, this is who we are. Like, this is human nature, but just ratcheted it up to a different level, shown through satire and, you know.
And it's, I wonder if he did it where it's like, if certain like political things didn't happen, I don't know, you know, that kind of alter, like, God, what was that? Is it The Americans, where it's like they flipped that and like Japan won World War II and stuff? It's like, what is that show
You're
called?
thinking of Man in
But-
the High Castle.
Oh, Man in the High
Yeah.
Castle.
I'm
Thank you.
actually
Yeah, yeah,
watching
yeah.
The Americans right now for the ramble. I'm in the
what's-
third season. It's good.
Okay, then I don't know why I'm flipping those two, because The
You're
Americans
thinking,
must be
yeah,
something.
you're thinking Man in the High Castle, where it's like, you know,
Man in the High Castle, yeah,
the
where
Axis powers won World War II and they split America,
yeah,
like Germany and Japan split it.
yeah.
I watched a
that-
little bit of
that's-
that. It was
that's-
alright.
Right. No. And that concept is neat, and that's kind of, I feel like, the concept that Terry Gilliam uses, where it's just kind of like, what if we took the technology in a different way? And it's like, because it does. I love his like retrofuturism, where there are robots, but people are still
does
going
that
to
great.
drive like
That's-
gas-powered cars, and like,
I think that's why I like
yeah.
12 Monkeys the most, because it's got all that, like in the future with the time travel, like the future's got these weird, crazy machines. All humans are all living underground. The way they do time travel is super fucking weird, and the elders have the big magnifying glasses. Terry Gilliam's got a thing for magnifying glasses, dude.
He loves and ducks. He like in an interview he said he's like, I love all the piping and shit that lives in the walls. He's like, I like that to be on the outside
does.
where people can
He-
see
he's-
it. And I'm like,
There's like
I know,
pipes
bud.
and steam and magnifying glasses, and he's into it.
Uh-huh.
But
Well, and he uses like the same kind of. He likes fucking shit hanging. In 12 Monkeys, don't they hang in that like thing when he's like.
oh yeah,
Because he gets like interviewed and
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
right? And
There's
he, like,
all
he's
there's
the-
all
he's
kinds
the
of shit like that. He does
convict, and he like shows
he fills
up like in the
space that
shackles.
way. He's like the opposite of
beautiful.
like like Wes Anderson or someone where Wes Anderson's like very symmetrical and everything's shot at like a 90-degree angle and very framed in a very certain way.
Or yeah,
Whereas this
Straight on.
Terry Gilliam also has a frame, but he gets like a wide angle lens, and he's just got like this area over here is blank. Let's fucking have some ducks hanging down from it, bring in some.
And I love he likes to shoot close up with a wide angle, which is similar to Wes Anderson, but like how he does it too is beautiful. It gives it kind of like a dreamlike, and it's like a weird it's a weird sense of claustrophobia.
Well, it is. It's like
when
distorting.
when you use a wide angle.
It's
you can see too much,
Yeah.
but you're really close.
It's
to the
taking something
subject.
intimate, like a very close up. It's supposed to be intimate. It's taking it and like distorting it, and also making it feel weirdly claustrophobic by how everything else is, distorted to be crushing in on it with the wide angle. It's an interesting effect. He's an interesting filmmaker. He is, Terry Gilliam.
Oh yeah, dude. I love that the toy that's in it. Did you notice that? Like it's basically just like it's a dumb like whatever
To
desk
decide,
desk
like,
toy,
yes
but
or
you
no.
Yeah,
I want one.
Yeah, yes
I
or
bet
no.
I
It's
could
like a
find
magic
3D
8-ball
printed version of
dude.
it.
Please find that. I want one of those so bad. And I love the box that it comes in, so it's like everybody gets it. That's what's so good is the subtlety of this movie when it comes to that kind of world building, where it's like all the presents are the same, so it's not so like where like RoboCop has like the advertisements that are kind of just like fucking right in your face, and same with like Idiocracy and stuff. It's like those movies are like that, like they're kind of consumerism's bad, and which totally is, but it's like in this movie consumerism's just kind of ingrained. It's part of it, and it's like if you want to consume, you have to produce something because that's the only way you get
literally they
credits.
have
And
what
so
is
it's
it?
like-
Consumers for Christ or whatever. They have that billboard going around.
Yes.
And all the kids are
Yeah.
sitting on Santa's lap, and he's like, "What do you want for Christmas?" He's like, "My own credit card."
My own credit card, totally, yeah. And that,
like,
that's
okay,
what
we
but
get
the
it.
boxes, all the toys come in like that same. So the boxing's there, but even the branding on the boxing's like kind of bleak, and that's what I think's cool. And the food was a big aspect this time when I watched it. I was like,
Dude, it's just globs.
nobody really eats in this movie. It's like, when they are, it doesn't look that appetizing. Like he falls asleep in his fridge, and his like fridge looks just disgusting. It looks like the contents of a stomach, and so it's like
It does.
really awful. And like the food looks really depressing, and especially the like that food. But I love the future of food where it's just globs that are supposed to look really pretty. You see the picture, and you have to you eat it, and it's like you gotta
That's
believe
the flavors, Peter. Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I like that. I like the world.
I don't know,
building.
man. What would be your favorite part? I don't have my notes. I kind of forgot. We do like a Reddit or favorite part. What do we want to do?
Yeah, I don't know. My favorite part, probably that, like the last dinner dream sequence where he goes to his mom's funeral and like it's her young, and then I really love the shot where he falls into the coffin and there's just like the one shot through him like falling to the void. Tuttle turns into a pile of paper.
That's so cool. Yeah.
But honestly, any scene with Tuttle, I think the first scene he shows up is fucking hysterical because you're really not expecting it because he gets the call and it's him on the phone, but he's got the gun behind him, and then it's this whole thing, and they kind of become kind of buddies over it because his thermometer's broken, and he's like, "I got you, dog." He fixes his thermometer, but it's illegal.
Yeah.
But that's probably my favorite thing. I just like how jumpy he is. He just immediately, like, there's the sound of the door, and he's got his, like, little Luger, and he just, like, hunkers down. He's just ready to fight. He's trigger happy, dude. He's Charlie in that gun episode where he just, like, got the gun out, and he's, like, ready to go, dude. So I'm glad,
he
even if
definitely-
it's a
he's
fantasy,
squirrely.
you get to see him in a shootout at the end, because I feel like he was itching for it the whole time. What about you?
I love Tuttle. I really like the dream sequences. I think they're shot. He's like Icarus Bowie.
He is.
Like,
It's
he's just
a
like
Bowie
he's like
vibe.
Ziggy. He's like Ziggy Stardust and Icarus smashed together, and it works for me. It's fantastic. My God, dude, I don't know. Like best scene. I mean, there's so many good scenes, but the best shot and the shot that I like, that I think the floor with the circle and that falls through, that's my favorite gag out of the whole movie, and it gets me every time, and it sets up the show so well. But then the shot when he's sitting at that computer and then they come around the side and it like shows his head really big, and he's working. God, there's just something like beautiful about that composition. Like,
there's a lot of
that
great
framing.
Like they use a lot of really good matte paintings and stuff for like backgrounds.
Oh, totally.
They're
And that
really
was
good.
I wanted to talk about that slightly. Is like his set design is stellar.
Oh, dude, it's another
amazing.
level. That's the whole thing. It's like the world.
How he tricks it, dude. He gets away with so much. This was such a small budget movie, and he gets away with like, or at least like, I want you to guess the budget on this movie.
I'll read the one Reddit post real quick because it's one sentence.
Okay.
It says, Wildwood says, I love this film. It's just so intensely bleak. And it is, but it almost kind of tricks you into it. Because it's got good vibes in a way, but it's not like, Requiem for a Dream is bleak or, things like that. It's like, this movie, it's so much almost bleaker because there's so much hope in it that's just stomped out like all the time. Like hope does not win in this movie. But all right, let me guess the budget. So 1985. I don't know, 20 mil.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you're close. It's 15.
Okay.
15 mil, and I mean, it only grossed 10, but it has made a lot more sense.
I'm sure this
sales,
movie
on,
had
DVD sales.
most of its life on video.
Right.
Like that's where I guarantee that's where this movie found its audience. I'm sure is on video.
Yeah, totally. No, it definitely like has made up for it. I mean, it's like Terry Gilliam has had a decent career, and he's been. It was kind of interesting though. I was listening or watching a YouTube essay about it, and like just about the life of like Monty Python and Terry Gilliam and that crew, and it's like it is kind of cool. They did a lot of stuff on a budget, so it is.
No, they knew how to.
It's cool to see.
They had to creatively work around it. They're like, we can't afford this, so we'll just turn it into a gag. You know what I mean? Type of deal.
Right.
It's like,
gag.
It's like Monty Python's famous where it's like, we don't know how, like, we can't end it. And so the cops just show up and break up the set, and that's how it ends,
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, and it's like that limitation creates like
it's like a necessity.
an opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, an opportunity for a funnier bit, like for, something you can do. But I think there's like we don't have this as a segment necessarily, but in this movie specifically, there's so many influences and instances where I'm like, it's just like so Terry Gilliam's influenced by older directors who he admires, and then this movie, it's like there's so many movies after it that I'm like, oh my god, other filmmakers have taken from this, and like used it. It's like he shows his influences, and then he is a big influence on other directors, and it's really cool. And like the thing that I love is like, so the big samurai, that's a wonderful fight, and it's super like it's Akira Kurosawa is like his influence for that, and he loves that imagery. But the part that I like, I just hope that it's part of Akira Kurosawa's influence. But in Ikaru or whatever, how do you say that again? Oh my god!
I'm just going Ikaru. I know what you're talking about.
Ikaru,
but I don't.
Yeah,
I don't remember
Ikaru.
how
I
it's
think.
said.
Yeah. God,
dude, I was talking about that movie yesterday.
We're professionals,
Yep.
But so.
I said that's how me and Jordan became friends.
I think it is, yeah.
Ikaru.
Really though, yeah. Ikaru. Now I feel that, but it's a beautiful movie, and I love it. And there is a scene where a woman is going through all of the bureaucracy in that movie, and they keep telling her, no, you have to go down to this line to get this paperwork and come here. And it's almost shot like identical in this movie in Brazil when she shows up and he goes, and she's standing there holding the papers, and it's like it's cut the same edit the same way as Ikaru, And she's sitting there, and he goes, "No, you need to get this. See, it's not signed here. It needs to be like signed. You have to have like Form A to get Form B.
like that.
But then if you don't have Form B, you can't get Form A. It's like, yeah,
The system, man. Fuck
that-
the system. I don't have to talk about that in the ramble. God, you remember that short animation I made? I can't believe I got away with that. Anyway.
I know, dude.
Before I play Travis's message,
Yeah,
I gotta say, because I do really like this movie. I think the one thing I didn't like, though, I gotta say my one negative is this time watching it at least, I really fucking felt the runtime. I don't know if it was just me or what, but watching it this time, I was just like, holy shit, this movie is like, it's 2.5 hours long. And I'm like, it could be easily just 2 hours. Like, they probably could have made it 2 hours. I feel like.
I do.
I don't know where they would,
I'm
I'm
trying to
sure there are
think.
definitely things they could have cut. Because the movie is kind of crazy all over the place anyway. I'm sure they could have cut some stuff and it would have been just fine. But, like, this time watching it, I was like, I have to be more than halfway through this movie. And I looked at it and I'm like, 45 minutes? What the fuck? Like,
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Part of it was
know.
me, I think. But I do think that this movie, it's a little longer than it needs to be. And you know me, I'll defend long movies to the grave. I like long movies, but I feel like this movie, I think it could have been a little punchier had they trimmed out a little in the middle, just a little bit in the middle, like the second
I'm trying to
act.
think-
The
I'm trying to
second
think
act just kind of drags on a little bit, and I understand they need that to like build his and her relationship, how they like meet, and how they like slowly.
Well, so it's funny. I kind of agree. I can see what you're saying on the runtime. I did notice myself like glancing at my phone because I was kind of like, all right, we're waiting. But it's like I feel like their relationship was super fast.
It was too.
It was too. I almost couldn't. I kind of like their meet cute. Like he's like goofing around in the car and he like takes her hostage somehow, and then she's driving and then he falls out and he like almost dies and she's like, oh, and she smiles. I was kind of and like. That's it. They're like connected. I was kind of like, it works. It's like there's good momentum, but I definitely.
I think part of that. It's like they could have
But-
cut around that a little bit, and then that's explained with because already it feels rushed, even though it also somehow feels really dragged out. Not just their relationship, but just that whole section of the movie. But like they could have cut it and framed that up with like, oh, it's like somewhat fantasy, like it's this heightened reality. Because even at the end when they're like, oh, we're getting together, and she's got long hair and she's like, it's a wig, haha, you look like just from my dreams and you're dead now. And she's like, you want to do necrophilia because I'm dead? You know?
Yeah, that line was like that was the only time I cringed in this.
I know,
this
literally.
movie,
And you
though.
can tell they
I got
wrote
it,
that and they're like, nah, come on, it's so good on paper.
Her delivery was kind of
It's not
It
her
is
fault.
wild,
It's a
dude,
weird
that-
line,
yeah.
but
It's a weird line. but- anyways, wait, you didn't read the Reddit? Where,
No, I read it.
You did?
It
Oh
was
my
one
God.
line. I did.
Oh, it was. Oh, right. Just like my favorite movie. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll listen to Travis's thing. How about that?
Okay. I'd love
Did
to
you already listen to it, you little bitch? This time? You did, didn't you? I can see it on your face.
Oh no!
Because
Yeah, I had to though.
I
'cause
always
Travis
go in
asked.
blind, and he asks a question
Well-
on the spot, and you're like, I've been thinking about this for hours. I got it locked and loaded, buddy.
No. I listened to this. He sent this message at 5:30, and I listened to it at 5:30. So it's like, I listened to it a few hours ago, sure, but I haven't
listened to it.
fully
I haven't
stewed.
listened to
So,
it yet, so let's see. You ready?
anyways, go for it.
Hey guys, watching Brazil reminded me of Joseph Heller's masterpiece book, Catch-22. Although Catch-22 was a satirical anti-war book, Brazil touched on satirical themes of bureaucracy and overreaching powers of Big Brother. My favorite thing about this movie were the posters, the hilarious propaganda ones, such as "Don't suspect a friend, report him," and "Suspicion builds confidence."
Nice.
It also reminded me of Mystery Science Theater 3000, where skits would be put on during their intermissions. And lastly, Brazil reminded me of different weird children's TV shows I've seen, like Lazy Town or even Pee-wee's Playhouse. So my question today is, where else do you guys see this movie's influence? It could be inside or outside of cinema. Thanks.
Thanks, Travis. Dude, the posters, right? We should try and fucking make those posters.
Yeah.
They're great.
No, they're really sick. I actually,
Dude, I could see some Pee-wee's
I'm gonna
Playhouse.
go-
I could definitely see that.
oh, totally. And yeah, Lazy Town, like that. I totally get that, like that
Lazy
mixture
Town
of
scares me.
surreal. I know, yeah, it's great. But the posters, I need to go through and I want to I need to pause because I feel like there was a couple I missed that like were just kind of flashed in the background, and so it would be great to go through and get them all and like post them on the website or something. But I think the Mystery Science Theater, I think that comes from his comedy background, because what Terry Gilliam did for Monty Python is the animation segments. He was the head writer and animator for all the Monty Python breaks. That's how come like he is revolutionary. Like he totally made that weird paper cutout style. He made that really popular, and like he did it really well, and his animation's like really smooth in like, you know, for like not a digital age. If you go back and watch some of it, I was going through, and he's got some great skits, and he loves comics, so he's got really good composition, and I think that really helps when he tries to get serious, and I totally agree.
I think
I don't know.
I think Cyberpunk owes more to this movie than you would think, just because it's like so many Cyberpunk movies are like soaked in neon, but like at the end of the day, this is only a couple years after like Blade Runner, but like this idea of like these ultra oppressive cities, it's like instead of, you know, neon, like rain soaked neon streets or whatever, it's like that, but it's just like gray and dry. And it's like even when they leave the city, it's just like you can't look at the environment because it's all billboards, but like us at the audience gets a peek behind it, behind the barren wasteland that is out past the billboards on your trip.
Well, I think it I don't know. Blade Runner is the future. That's what they tried to capture, and he's trying to capture like kind of a timeless era. And I think that frickin' Gattaca, another movie we've watched, totally 100% takes influence.
Yeah, I think it owes
from
to this.
movie.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think a lot of movies that like have that crazy dystopian vibe, like maybe even like Escape from New York or God, I'm gonna have to look it up now. I had it like Dread or something. Like anything with like a big ultra city. Like I feel like kind of owes
Dread,
something to this movie. Like this movie's got something about that oppressive living in the fucking this city that like you can't even see the ground. Because it's like when he looks out of his apartment building and you see Tuttle scurry off on a zip line, it's like if you look closely, you can see cars moving down there that they added to this. You know, and the miniatures in this are fantastic.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And well, it's got that. It's the metro or the metropolis.
It's like the metropolis and like Fifth Element.
Yeah.
You know, it's like got this huge city that it's like you can't even. You know, you're lost in the concrete jungle. You know, I think it really captures that vibe.
Yeah, I do love it. It's like, yeah, we don't spread out. We're like just building on top. It's so cool. I love this. I love like sci-fi. Clearly, we've talked about this before. And we need to make this more of a genre because it's like, I kind of want to watch like Blade Runner now and see that comparison, like, because like Blade Runner tries to get, I think it's a lot more gritty, and I need to do the research because I don't even know what Blade Runner to watch, even though like the original OG Blade Runner. Because there are 3 cuts, and I don't
the last
don't
one
know.
was. The last one apparently seems to be the like definitive one because it's like I don't know, the mega ultimate edition or whatever. Yeah, maybe we should watch that just so I can have an excuse to watch Blade Runner 2049 again.
Oh my god, yeah.
So
that
like
Blade
Akira,
Runner
I was just looking
2049,
like Akira has got like a similar.
Akira.
Like,
well, dude, and then I even thought like, so I did talk with Travis earlier, and I think there are movies even to like Ex Machina or I mean, anything that's in that sci-fi realm, but when it wants to try to be more soft sci-fi, I still think it tries to be timeless, where it's like the sci-fi is just so heavily ingrained in like what our technology is that like you don't notice it. And Her would be my movie for the, if you liked this, you should watch this, is either going to be Gattaca or Her, because I feel like Her is a really soft sci-fi, but it shows you where we are now.
Yeah, it's got similar vibes,
you know,
as far as, or similar themes, you know.
I think it's like, right now that I'm thinking about it even more, it totally like his whole world is fabrication. He writes those fake I've
only seen
thank you letters, apology letters.
Yeah, I haven't seen Her since theaters. We should rewatch that.
He falls in love with like basically the dream version, you know, of his ex-wife. It's hers a better comparison than I thought. I'm just coming up with it now. But that would be my recommendation if you liked this film.
Yeah, I think any other Terry Gilliam thing.
Watch Her.
I still think like 12 Monkeys or something.
Oh,
12 Monkeys, 1984,
yeah.
obviously, which is probably the most direct comparison.
Well, that's what's great too. I'm sure everybody knows already. And if you don't, here I'm going to drop a little factoid on you. It's kind of fun. Terry Gilliam wanted to call this film 1984 and a half, and it's just like, it's perfect. I mean, that totally works. I'm really glad they didn't, because that's kind of, I don't know, right?
It takes. I feel like it takes away from the movie though, a little bit, because it leans too heavily on 1984 instead of being its own thing, which it is its own thing.
Yes. Oh, and that's rightfully so. It's almost it's like 1984. The movie came out, and then
forgot. Sorry, this is slightly off. It's not off topic, but I'm looking at now, because now I'm like just looking at IMDb and stuff. But it's like, when did Jonathan Pryce become old? Like, I feel like because I saw him in this, and I was like, hey, I know that guy, and I looked, and I was like, oh, that's Jonathan Pryce. I don't know if he won the Oscar, but you know, he was nominated for the Two Popes recently, and obviously he's in like Game of Thrones and shit. But I was like, this is him super young. But 1985, like, obviously it was a long time ago, but I feel like everything I've seen him in has been an older man now. That I'm like,
right. I can't think of him besides this film we just saw. I don't know what else he's in. 'Cause I haven't seen Two Popes, and I don't really remember him in Game of Thrones.
Two Popes.
Yeah, I mean that's
boring, dude. But
that's what I've heard. But he's a Pirates of the Caribbean,
I like
huh?
him, though, man. I don't know what it is about him. I like him in this movie, obviously, but I'm looking at his filmography now. Anyway, yeah, movie's all right. Are we missing something? I feel like we're missing something. That's it. Watch Brazil if that piques your interest at all. I should have apologized.
I think you should.
To the woman today that said that she was going to listen to our podcast. I should have said at the beginning. Sorry for all the cursing. I hope you listened.
Oh yeah, I was thinking we should make a little intro that's like.
No, they know. It says on the podcast. I mean, it's probably easy to miss, but it says that it's not for children.
That's true. Yeah,
it's for adults.
True, yeah.
It's not like it needs a fucking ID to sign in or anything, but.
It's true. Yeah. Kids can come listen, dude. Fuck them. I don't know. Whatever. Kids can hear a swear word.
Oh yeah. I heard swears forever, Psycho
dude.
Gorman with my daughter yesterday. So.
Oh hell yeah, dude! I'm so jelly. I need to watch that.
But she thinks it's good. She likes horror movies. So. It's just because.
Yeah, she's gonna like horror movies. Yeah,
it just has horrific imagery. We'll talk about that in the ramble, maybe. But.
Heck yeah, dude! Well, thank you, Travis. Thank you, my the Patreon people
Kylie
out
Landon,
there,
Mom, Cindy,
Kylie Landon.
Go watch the next
Everyone's
movie we're
great.
watching. It has been decided is Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. We're watching that next.
Whoop whoop.
I put that on there as kind of a whim, and it won, which I'm excited to watch it again.
I'm glad that
my wife still won't watch it. So we'll see. Now that it's part of the film club, she still probably won't, just out of spite. But
Mary, please. Mary, I want to get Mary on the pod again, dude.
She probably won't do it now that we're doing video.
Oh, I'm so glad it wasn't I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Did you hate that?
Oh. I liked that film. I just don't really feel like talking about it. I'd rather talk about
that's true.
Birdman.
I wanted to watch. I
Birdman
wanted to
is,
put another
like,
Kaufman movie in the mix. You know what I mean?
I know, I understand, and that's kind of I love his movies. I didn't personally like that movie too much.
I never finished
it.
I watched like the first half hour.
I just
and it was
it's that one, the actor, the main dude in it. He just
Jesse
like
Plemons.
he's God, he's such a good actor, but man, he's kind of just pathetic in that movie, which is fantastic, but it's not in a fun way.
All right.
But anyways, I wanted Beyond the Blank Rainbow. That would have been dope.
Yeah, well, we're gonna do another poll.
I knew that wasn't.
Anyway, I asked everyone, like you said, to add their movies to the mix, and 3 out of the 5 were already movies we've done. So
I know that was a bummer. I saw that, but I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody out there.
Period. Everyone still say
fantastic.
Why don't you go on the Reddit and you tell them pick a different movie?
Yeah, I wanted to go through and comment to everybody and be like, oh, hey, check out our podcast. We've done that episode.
Have you
Thank
updated?
you so much. If you have
we'll
another
talk
one,
about it later. Did you
Let us know.
update? You have that list still that has all our movies, right? That we did.
yeah, the full movie
updated?
list. Yeah. Let me check. Tomorrow's
don't
my
even
day
know
off,
mine.
so I plan on going through.
On the
I've
Patreon.
upped it. It's just on the Patreon. So if you want to be a sweet, cool patron and come pay for one of our things, $10 a month gets you sticker of the month club, and gets you access to Plex, which plays all the movies.
Got
It has
all the movies.
a backlog of the movies we've watched and the contemporary movies that we're watching.
Exactly.
That week,
you
that
can't.
day.
Yeah, we go back a couple months of the movies we've watched, so it's worth your time. But also, it's like,
Do you know how many times have you been out there and you're like, "Hey Roku, hey Google, take me to
yeah. What if you're
Brazil,"
on the film club
and then
in Brazil,
they're like,
and then you're like, oh, I got to pay $4.99 to rent it.
yeah, it's not streaming anywhere because for some weird reason we pay for like 8 streaming services and it's not streaming on any of them. And then you
We've
got it on
already
Plex, baby,
purchased
free.
it with our money
Correct.
and
Correct.
are letting you watch it as part of our film club because we were purchasing it for the group. So
Yep.
join us. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for next week. Birdman. Go talk about Birdman. I purchased Brazil. Birdman.
Yeah.
Go. Tell us your thoughts on Birdman.
Yeah.
The bird to the man.
Meet us on Reddit. Come to Reddit.
Come to
a
Reddit.
safe space to
come
talk
to the
about all your
website.
movies.
Check out the Insta Snarf. Yep. All right.
Instagram is what he's
All right,
trying
this
to
is
say.
running too long. We're ending
But-
it. Yep.
We like you all.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. I'm stopped.
To get ourselves a treat.